Hello, I'm Annie. My sign name is Yellow, and I'm Artistic Director of Unfolding Theatre. And I'm here with our creative associate, EJ Raymond, to make a little blog talking about our experiences working together since EJ joined the company at the start of the year.
Hello, my name's EJ. This is my sign name. My role is creative associate within Unfolding Theatre. My aim is to set up a deaf youth theatre, and hopefully that will develop. We'll see what happens next.
So it's been really brilliant working with EJ, and it's really changed the way we're thinking at Unfolding Theatre, and that change started right at the beginning. So we'd met EJ when they'd done some freelance work for a previous project. But when we interviewed EJ for the role of being a creative associate, while they were talking about what they might bring, they just mentioned in passing, they described Unfolding Theatre as a hearing company. And I'd never, ever thought about the company that way before. And it's such a simple thing. And of course, I sat in that interview thinking, of course, yeah, we are a hearing company. That is absolutely our identity. And yes, we might have the occasional BSL interpreted performance, but we have this identity that I haven't even seen because I'm hearing, because, you know, of that privilege, of that sense of, oh, this is just normal. So straight away, it was a really good wake-up call to start thinking about how we wanted to present ourselves, how we describe ourselves, how we work.
So through the R&D week, I was working with Unfolding Theatre, and the artists were included as well. During the week, we collaborated and put together some of our views. We put together lots of different things. And I remember that one day there was no interpreter. I think it was a Thursday. There was such a problem. We looked all over but couldn't find one. And I said that I was still happy to come, and work with everybody without an interpreter. And I arrived. I felt determined, that we could communicate. Everyone was a bit worried what we're going to do, how we're going to communicate. I said, we can write things down or do gestures, type up some text on our phones. There's lots of different ways. But I felt like we created a really good working relationship. It was amazing that day. And, that was what I was looking for. Most of my life, people can't be bothered to communicate with me. But when I arrived within that group, I felt like I was really included, I got a warm welcome from everyone, and I've loved my time at Unfolding Theatre so far.
I feel I have such mixed emotions when I hear you tell that story, because for me, I felt guilty, I felt angry, I felt like we'd failed. It was our fourth day, this was back in January, it was our fourth day of working with EJ as a creative associate, and I'd emailed so many interpreters and just couldn't find someone. And yeah, I'm really pleased that, having thought, right, okay, being angry and guilty is only going to get me so far, and in conversation with EJ thinking, okay, well, what do we do? How do we do this? And I'm absolutely not advocating for that being a way I want to continue working. It was a failure, but I think that for me is quite important to how we're thinking about this journey as Unfolding Theatre. Is it's not about just going, oh, we are getting things right. Look, we're getting things right. Aren't we doing access well? It's about going, no, sometimes we're failing. We're learning all the time. We're making mistakes all the time. And I suppose all we're trying to do is to sit that within care and, connection and working things out together. But I think it's really important that we talk about failure and we talk about the things that go wrong, not just the things that go right. So we've talked a little bit about the very beginning of the year when we started with our R&D. But then over the coming months, we've been developing Northeast Deaf Youth Theatre.
Yes, we have, yes. The reason why I wanted to set up a deaf youth theatre is because from my experience, there's not, you know, there's nothing out there really. And, you know, I want to say, for example, you know, I can be an actor. Our teachers, when I was at school, said that you can't be an actor because you're deaf. And that really knocked my confidence. Just because I'm deaf, I can't do this, 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 and this, and this. And it made me feel, you know, really determined that I wanted to do that and set something up. Glasgow had, London had a deaf theatre as well, but I wanted to set something up in the northeast. So I've moved to Newcastle, and I'm hoping to set up a deaf youth theatre and see what develops from that. Without control, really. I don't want to have to say to the children, you do this, you do this, you do that, you do the other. I want to be there to work with them to expand their ideas. I truly believe that deaf have an imagination the same as anybody else, and they just need the right opportunity. You know, they deaf children want to say something and want to do things, and I'm going to encourage them to do that.
And we're speaking now on Friday, the 5th of August, having just seen the world premiere performance of Gary the Dragon, the story that was made up by the group of children who came together to be part of our first Deaf Youth Theatre project. So EJ, you delivered some tasters in the schools, but then this little group came together, and it's a small group, but a really mighty group, I think. And we had a teenager come a couple of times as well, thinking about, you know, the very first baby steps of thinking about starting an older people's, you know, a young people's group as well. And it's just been a massive, I mean, it's been so joyful for me. I've loved it. The children have been so much fun and so brilliant, and it's been what's been really interesting, I think, from my perspective, is in one way it's been a massive learning curve. My BSL is so limited, and I'm understanding more and more about the very different experiences of deaf children in deaf families, deaf children in hearing families, lots of different, you know, complexities. I've been exhausted every night, you know, doing so much learning, but at the same time, it's felt absolutely true to what Unfolding Theatre is all about, which, you know, we talk about making big-hearted theatre that brings people together, and particularly being interested in bringing people together who might not normally share a space, and making theatre, co-creating theatre with people who might not normally get a chance to tell their story or to express what they want to say about the world. And, you know, and that's what it's been, you know, it's been the first steps of that. And yeah, really excited about what might happen next.
Yes, I definitely am too.
Just thinking a bit about the next, what do you think a little bit about the next steps of Deaf Youth Theatre?
So I'm hopeful that we can either do a weekly workshop or offer some different sessions. Perhaps if we offer some different sessions, then we might get some development there. We have of course the two routes. You know, children can just come, you know, no audience or anything. They can just come and enjoy themselves, or we can do something a little bit more professional. You know, children who are excited to show their theatre skills, but want to learn more in depth about what they're going to do and put down their ideas about how they're going to work. Perhaps make costumes and props and different set things. But I want it to be really open. I have spoken to the Auburn University people, and they have said that no deaf people have applied to do a light tech course. No deaf people have applied to do a costume course. Now I wonder why. I think it's because there is no deaf role models for children anywhere, you know. that there isn't anybody that the children can look up to and think that is what I can become. So I think if children start to come and they start to mix together, you know, myself, I do have experience. I've been with college, and I've been the only deaf person there. You know, sometimes I feel like, you know, it's not right, but hopefully we can work together with the children, and they can not only be the deaf person within that group, you know. You know, I don't expect the world to be full of white straight men, you know, that the world is full of various people with various backgrounds, and that's what we should have.
Totally. Yeah. And I think, you know, thinking about the next steps for the company as well, you know, obviously we're making a piece of theatre together. We're at the early stages of that, and with other artists as well. And that for us is really exciting. You know, it's that shift from going, we'll make theatre and then we'll work with an interpreter to make that theatre accessible to deaf audiences, to going, actually, okay, that's great, that's fine. But actually, let's collaborate with deaf artists, let's make theatre together. Also, let's have deaf people in the room when we're developing BSL interpretation of our work, of our existing shows. Think about how we can make a really genuine welcome to deaf audiences, like what happens around the show, how do we welcome people, how do we talk to people, how do we build these relationships, and with the children and with the families that we've met through Deaf Youth Theatre. And I just think, like, keeping learning, you know, definitely I'll keep making mistakes along the way, but I think, yeah, keeping learning and keeping, because I think for me, you know, Unfolding Theatre, when I founded the company, it was just me, and there was a set of things that were possible from that. But what's so exciting, and it's true of every single person that's joined the company, is it suddenly makes more possible, you know, and that's what's been so beautiful and so exciting about collaborating with you.
Yeah, definitely.